We are live. Oh, it's been a while, but I'm back, trying to trying to learn about something new, something random. Uh, let the AI kind of surprise me, and that's why I am going to select this random article on Wikipedia. And the fun part of this is that I don't know what kind of topic I stumble into and how that topics kind of ties to, say, various topics. Uh, Sometimes it's kind of unique, very unique transitions or very unique connections, rather. So let's see what today's journey or trip gonna be like. And we are gonna go to Mount McEwen, which is in Queensland. Mount McEwen is a mountain which also gives its name to the surrounding rural locality in the South Burnett region, Queensland, Australia. In the 2016 census, Mount McEwen had a population of 36 people. What? What? 36 people. Okay. Mount McEwen rises to an elevation of 508 meters, with the nearest peak known as the Bluff, which is 469 meters elevation. Only a short distance away, like approximately 1.7 kilometer, Mount McEwen rises to a prominent pointed peak in a shape that is clearly volcanic in origin, making it a significant local landmark. It was used as a vantage point by survivors in the earliest days of preparing subdivisions for closer settlement and farming. All right. 36 people. That's Queensland is a state situated situated in northeastern Australia and is the second largest and third most populous Australian state. It is bordered by the Northern Territory, South Australia, and New South Wales to the west, southwest, and south, respectively. The South Burnett region is a local government area in the South Burnett district of Queensland, Australia. And Queensland is a state. And White Bay Burnett is a region of the Australian state of Queensland, located between 170 to 400 kilometer north of the state capital, Brisbane. The area's population growth has exceeded the state average over the past 20 years, and it is forecast to grow to more than, hmm, that's a mystery, more than how much? Hopefully, more than 36. All right, let's check out more about Queensland. Queensland is a state situated in the northeastern Australia and is the second largest and third most populous Australian state. It is bordered by the Northern Territory, South Australia, and the New South Wales to the west, southwest, and south, respectively. So it's the second largest and third most populous Australian state, bordered by the North Territories, okay, and South Australia and New South Wales, probably this one to the west, and southwest and south. Wait, what? So this is South Wales and southwest and south. What is this then? To the east, Queensland is bordered by the Coral Sea and the Pacific Ocean. To its north is the Torres Strait, okay, separating the Australian mainland from Papua New Guinea, with an area of 1,856,642 square kilometers. Queensland is the world's sixth largest subnational entity and is larger than all but 15 countries. Wow. Due to its size, Queensland's geographical features and climates are diverse, including tropical rainforest, rivers, coral reefs, mountain ranges, and sandy beaches in its tropical and subtropical coastal regions, as well as deserts and savanna in the semi arid and desert climatic regions of its interior. Queensland has a population of over 5.2 million, concentrated along the coast and particularly in southeast Queensland. The capital and largest city in the state is Brisbane, Australia's third largest city. 10 of Australia's 30 largest cities are located in Queensland, with the largest outside Brisbane being the Gold Coast, the Sunshine Coast, Townsville, Cairn, or I don't know, Cairns, I guess, and Toowoomba. The state's population is multicultural, with 28.9% of inhabitants being immigrants. Queensland was first inhabited by Aboriginal Australians and Torres Strait Islanders. Dutch navigator William Janszoon, the first European to land in Australia, explored the west coast of the Cape York Peninsula in 1606. In 1770, James Cook claimed the east coast of Australia for the Kingdom of Great Britain. In 1788, Arthur Phillip founded the colony of New South Wales, which included all of what is now Queensland. Queensland was explored in subsequent decades, and the Moreton Bay Penal Settlement was established at Brisbane in 1824 by John Oxley. Queensland was separated from New South Wales on 6 June 1859, now commemorated as Queensland Day, thereby establishing Queensland as a self governing crown colony with responsible government. Named in honor of Queen Victoria, Queensland was among the six colonies which became the founding states of Australia with federation on 1st June 1901. Since the Belke Peterson era of the late 20th century, Queensland has received a high level of internal migration from the other states and territories of Australia and remains a popular destination for interstate migration. Queensland has the third largest economy among Australian states, with strengths in mining, agriculture, transportation, international education, insurance, and banking. Wow, international education have its own Wikipedia page. Nicknamed the Sunshine State for its tropical and subtropical climates, Great Barrier Reef, and numerous beaches. Tourism is also important to the state's economy. Captain James Cook claims the east coast of Australia for the Kingdom of Great Britain at Possession Island in 1770. Fighting between Burke and Willis, supply party, and indigenous Australians at Bulla in 1861. There's a parade of troops in Brisbane prior to departure for the Boer War in South Africa. And these are Kanaka workers in a sugarcane plantation, late 19th century. Returned World War II soldiers march in Queen Street, Brisbane, 1944. Commonly designated regions of Queensland, with central Queensland, Mackay, are divided into Mackay and Fitzroy, no, Fitzroy subregions. The Great Barrier Reef, which extends along most of Queensland's coastal line. The Mossman River, flowing through the Daintree rainforest in far north Queensland. I mean, that river looked amazing. The natural it's like nature's painting, right? Look at how beautiful this Great Barrier Reef is. And look at this Macpherson Range at Lamington National Park in southeast Queensland. That beach look pretty clean. Lake Mackenzie, Gagari. No wonder people always wanted to live on an island or close to coastal line, because it's it's a it's a it's kind of more humbling place, you know. Especially when back in the day people didn't had any tools to protect ourselves, you know. So if you live in or close to coastal lines, then you gotta be prepared always, you know, because there could be hurricanes within a span of hours, um, or could could be something like tsunami, or a lot of other natural disaster could happen. So especially on islands and small islands, yeah, because in a bigger countries such as the U.S., most of these storms or hurricanes kind of start losing its momentum as it approaches the mainland. But if it's a small island, then the entire island could be engulfed within hurricane. I mean, depending on the size of island, of course, but at the same time, these hurricanes could become larger and larger, or bigger and bigger, and this is actually happening because of climate crisis. You know, it's not it's not a what do you call, it's not a surprise to anyone that humans are creating drastic changes in climate. We are contributing to mass extinction of, you know, different species, and we are pumping out the oil from beneath the earth and pumping it out in the air. So that's what we are doing. We are to certain degree we are sucking planet's oil, right? It's a planet, literally planet's oil to kind of. That's how planet. I would assume that's how planet stay. You know, um, warm. I guess I won't even say warm, because here's the thing. Um, the center of the earth, the core of the earth is lava, right? You know, it's it's uh, it's it's all the minerals and all the all the minerals in the land. I don't even know if it's a land at the core of the earth, meaning, you know, it's lava. And what exactly is lava? I mean, land is probably, you know, lava, uh, cool lava, which kind of like, you know, uh, which cool over time, which kind of became more and more solid, right? Because it was in molten, and then it cooled down and became solid, and that is what land is. So pretty much like every the earth itself, like the ground itself, is nothing but was lava at some point in time, in the, you know, billions of years of Earth's history. Uh, and there is a lava, still a lot of lava within Earth. So who's to tell that the oil is the fuel which let you know, which let that lava kind of you know, go for a longer period of time, you know, within the Earth. I don't know if it's true, but uh, maybe the uh, the radius of the Earth is so thick that oil is probably, I don't know if I have to guess, maybe like 1/10 deeper um, in the ground, and nowhere close to lava. Because if oil mixes with lava, and then there would be an explosion, right? Because oil is, or petrol or gas is combustible. So I could imagine if the oil is pumped into uh, the core of the earth, meaning like all the oil reserve throughout the planet, if it's pumped directly into the core of the earth, it would explode. Uh, that would be my assumption. Uh, and that being true, so if that's true, then there is no escape, right? Like obviously, if the planet explode from within, I'm sure there's not that much oil. Well, how can I be sure? I don't know. I don't know if it's enough oil in the layers of the Earth that could cause an explosion. But regardless, if that happens, then Earth is pretty much doomed. But on the other side, if we start sucking up the oil from the planet and just smoking it up in the air, then all of that toxic, gases which are buried in there are gonna start uh, taking over the air, right? Like the air quality is already um, getting worse in a lot of countries, especially in countries like India. Uh, uh, and, and moreover, there is like uh, there are different reasons why that is the case, and especially in countries like again India, because Indians still use uh, Indians have yet to kind of um, transition to say nuclear source of power. I bet there are few nuclear plants in India, but not enough to kind of power every house. Uh, and on top of that, the biggest pollution factor is the vehicles. Um, so that causes like so much so much degradation of air quality. And and I'm sure Indians will find we will find a solution, because especially the way innovation is going all around the world, right? um, the software innovation um, which sort of originated in US in right now. That software innovation is everywhere. Like you can find so many software innovation in China, in India, in Europe, a lot of European countries, and Japan, and these and Korea, South Korea especially. Wow, uh, North Korea, I don't think so. Not gonna happen. But this software innovation have to a lot of degree is now um, transitioning to hardware innovation, um, like especially the electric powered, say, automobiles, right? And once that innovation will spread, like how software innovation spread throughout the world in the past couple of decades, when that hardware innovation starts spreading throughout the planet, then there will be more efficient tools, or let's just say in this case, efficient automobiles, and that would mean lesser air pollution. And India is kind of country which happily adapt to to technology which helps the planet. Um, to large degree, that's one of the ethos of India, um, to to kind of think bigger, and that's one of the reasons why India have always stayed out of most of the world wars, Meaning in World War One and World War Two, there were Indian soldiers, and but that was because they were part of British Empire at the time. So yeah, that because we were part of British Empire, the soldiers, the British sort of like belongs to the British Army at the time, and they promised us that if we fight for you know for the Allies, then we'll get the independence, which sort of we got after World War II. Uh, that was one of the factor, and there are a ton of other factors why India got independence and how it got independence and whatnot. But regardless, uh, once India got independence, India kind of stayed out of like most of the world wars. Uh, and granted, there were no world war per se, but there were cold wars, and Russia and America both fighting for uh, their own proxy territories. Then there was, the whole war on communism and whatnot, and all of that, right? So India kind of like stayed away from all of that mess, because again, it goes back to India's ethos to kind of like not try to instigate violence, and sort of like stand for the peace, and uh, and at least that's how I felt when I was growing up there, and maybe it's a lot to do with my parents and how they kind of you know how they kind of raised me, uh, um, when it comes down to some of these things. But just that's one of the Indian history I kind of like. India always stood for uh, the peace, and that's one of the reasons India is not like participating in any of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and 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 right now, uh, the West, especially the U.S. government. I mean, U.S. escalated so much of this chaos. Remember the time when Ukrainian president was kind of trolling the mainstream media because they wanted to ignite this conflict so bad that they kind of trolled that, yeah, the war gonna be at on 18th February, I believe, at so and so time, and mainstream media here bought that. I mean, maybe they didn't buy it, but they were kind of like running with it, and obviously, that didn't happen. The war didn't started on that day, but also Zelensky, he was just mocking the mainstream media. So a lot of this conflict is escalated because of the recklessness and carelessness of how the U.S. government and the media here handled. And to be honest, the mainstream media here have this lust for war, and it's both mainstream media. It just depends on um, who's in power. Like if it is Democratic president, then obviously the Fox would oppose anything they would do, and the Democratic mainstream media, they would kind of push the agenda for you know wars and stupid ideology, stupid policies. And when it's opposite, when it's uh, you know um, if it's a Republican president, then the 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 CNNs of mainstream media, they would just be opposing uh, the administration, and the mainstream media from the right, the Foxes and all the other Ben Shapiro's, I guess, they start to ignite the the war. So both side of this media are equally um, culpable, I guess, in that regards. I mean, one side does more than the other, whatever that means to whoever. But the point being that both mainstream media or both sides of mainstream media ignite and they kind of thrive on conflicts and on chaos. That's why they kind of like seek out for these conflicts. And war is a big conflict, a big conflict where if escalated, could lead loss of lives at a monumental level. But it doesn't matter to the mainstream media because profits and power and whatever you call it, the 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 need to control the narrative, and that's what both side does. Like, look at Fox News. It's like one of the worst news channel ever. Like, all they do is like have a set of propaganda and would just be hypocritical every single moment, and still kind of try to just to spread that propaganda. And the same thing is on the other side too. Maybe a lesser degree than Fox News, but like CNN and MSNBC, both are kind of like propagandist in their own right. Just kind of pushing one set of narrative to appease, you know, their elite or whoever they seek approval from, I guess. But I bet like definitely more from their corporate donors. That's at the end of the day, it's all come down to corporations bribing politicians, buying news outlets, and spreading the misinformation, the fake news to the masses. And uh, these corporations care about money, which is what our society is currently, I would say, uh, uh, founded on, I guess. Because I get it, like, money is an important concept. I mean, money simplifies a lot of transactions, I guess. It would be brutal to kind of try to figure out what you don't want and try to find someone who would barter for that with something they have and you want. Like, it's you didn't get what I said, right? Because it's that complex. That's weird. The concept of like barter system, and I bet like even at that time they used to barter with like maybe a catalyst in between. Maybe like you, for example, you give me uh, p- uh, uh, you give me a pair of I don't know, pair of bag, right? You give me a pair of bag, and I will give you a kilo of rice, and you can go and exchange that kilo of rice with someone else. So for whatever you want, and and in this scenario, rice is sort of like catalyst, right? Like, it's in otherwise you would have to find something you want. Yeah, it becomes complicated. Um, so obviously money have a lot of advantages, and it kind of eases down the transaction. It makes things um, sort of trustable or trusting for everyone. Everyone can trust on one thing like money, and sort of believe that this money will help them to buy whatever they want. That this money will not lose its value, and they'll be able to I don't know, receive or buy or experience all the happiness because they have all the money. And trust me, that's not how happiness work. Every wealthy person would tell you the same thing. If money can buy happiness, then who would be more happier than, I don't know, politicians? I guess, like, they have most of the money. Um, like Putin is probably the richest man in the world, and so would be Saudi's prince or king or whoever he is, um, and and pretty much like a lot of dictators. They would have like they have so much money, but that didn't make them happier at all. Uh, so I mean, but then the other factor is power, which is what a lot of these people or systems crave for, and that doesn't bring happiness either. So um, the trick is to kind of figure out what actually makes you happy, and it's if it's money and power, then you're still kind of in the matrix because none of those things really matter. Uh, but both are important. I mean, even though having a lot of money and a lot of power may not make you happy, but not having any money or any power would make you very sad, very, very sad. Shout out to Novel for this thought. Uh, but that's where the happy balance come into picture, right? Like because we all, we all kind of need to find our own scale of happiness, and on top of that, if you want to continue to live in this civilization, then money and power both are to a certain degree needed. And the when I say both of these things, I don't mean it in a way that um, again, these are helpful tools. Like having power does not necessarily mean like power to control people or power to control organizations or whatever. Just power to control yourself. Just power to control oneself. That itself is that itself is very powerful. That is empowering. Just power to control oneself. And likewise, when it comes down to money too, you don't have to, um, you know, help the world. Although if you do, that is the best use of money in whatever way you can help. Uh, and on top of that, the same thing goes with the power too. Like you don't have to help others, but if you do, it's good. It's better actually for your own happiness. So money and power both. If you kind of draw the line that it's enough for me, it's meaning uh, whatever your line is. Like if you want to make, say, I don't know, $1 million, or if you want to make, say, $100 million, or if you want to make $1 billion. All right, whatever is your goal, once you made it, uh, is that enough? Will that be enough, or would you want more? And if you start chasing that, I mean, first of all, people who made billions of dollars, um, most of the people at least, have actually done something. They added value to the society. But there are a lot of sham billionaires in the world who just kind of, uh, use the hedge funds, the mutual funds of the of our corrupted system, I guess, and they make billions of money by scamming people. but they can scam because the laws are on their side, because they paid off the politicians to make the laws that way. So there are those kind of sham billionaires too, who did not added value to the society, but they are billionaires, and these people never stop. If they make a billion, they want to make five, then they want to make 10 billion, or then they want to be the richest person in the world. Uh, and that's that's when the greed take over, right? So that would be the worst place to be, I guess, personally. I mean, I have my personal goal, meaning, I know how much amount of money I want to make in my life, and that would be enough for me. I mean, meaning after that, I don't need anything. I mean, I can live my life comfortably, and not just that, I can, you know, um, share that with my family, and their life would be comfortable too. So that's all is enough for me. Because at the end of the day, does it matter? I'm not going to take even a penny with me, when I die. Um, but as long as I live, I want to live a good life. So for me, there is a number in my mind, and that is enough for me. I don't want more than that. Uh, and to be honest, I can do less than that too. But you also gotta have high standards and ambition. So set that number for yourself, whatever that is. And once that once that is set, then to a certain degree, how you kind of look at the money is up to you, obviously. But the way I started looking at the money, and I'm still kind of like unlearning a lot of the lot of the um, uh, patterns I absorbed from my household, I guess. But money is very very important way to kind of I mean, it's a cliche to say, but it's kind of true that you vote with your money. You kind of like decide um, where do you want to spend or give your money, and what do you want to do. But most of the society, most of the people in our society doesn't have that choice. They have so less money that they have to focus on essentials rather than choosing one over the other, even if they know that if they are eating um, unhealthy and cheap food, that will that will uh, create more issues in their health. Even if they know that, but they can't spend it on, say, high nutritious food because they don't have money. So, uh, I guess that is one of the privilege uh, rich people. When I say rich, I mean anyone who have money and who can choose what they want to uh, what they want to eat, how they want to live, basically. If 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 anyone have that choice, they are a bit privileged, right? Than the people who don't have that choice. But regardless, uh, everyone have their own boundaries. Like I I I, I would not mind, say, eating out once a week, or uh, for the rest of my life. I can I know that I can make my income wise and whatnot. I would be able to sustain that, right? Um, but if I kind of try doing that like for the entire week, then probably it's not ideal. It probably gonna be it's gonna be very expensive for me. So I have my boundaries, and so does everyone. But the point being, money and power um, both are kind of like natural forces. Yeah, even though money, the concept of money is a construct, but it's the idea of the ambition and the and not just ambition of, again, money, but ambition to say become the best version of yourself. Even that is an ambition, right? Or excel at something, that is an ambition. So that ambition needs that, you know, power from within, the empowerment to kind of pursue that ambition. And money is just a reflection or just a piece of it. But you know, that ambition can go into various other tools, I guess. But coming back to the Wikipedia page, we I want to check out the Ancestry and Immigration system of Queensland. Early settlers during the 19th century were largely English, Irish, Scottish, and German. While there was a wave of immigration from southern and eastern Europe, most notably Italy, in the decades following the Second World War, in the 21st century, Asia, most notably China and India, has been the primary source of immigration. At the 2016 census, the most commonly nominated ancestries were English, 41.3%, Australian, 37.9%, Irish, 13%, Scottish, 11.2%, German, 6.8%, Indigenous, 4%, Chinese, 3.1%, Italian, 3%, Indian, 1.7%, Dutch, 1.6%, New Zealander, 1.6%, Maori, 1.2%, Filipino, 1.2%. And the language. At the 2016 census, 81.2% of inhabitants spoke only English at home, with the next most common languages being Mandarin, which is 1.5%, Vietnamese, which is 0.6%, Cantonese, which is 0.5%, Spanish, which is 0.4%, and Italian, which is 0.4%. And then the religion. The most commonly cited religious affiliations were no religion, which is 29.2%. Good job. And then Catholicism, which is 21.7%, and Anglicanism, which is 15.3%. What is this? The Anglican Church of Australia, formerly known as the Church of England in Australia, is a Christian church in Australia and an autonomous church of the Anglican Communion. It is the second largest church in Australia after the Roman Catholic Church. Well, Catholics, you have a competition. Ang- Anglicanism. But my people, the no religion people, you will survive. All those Catholicism and Anglicanism, they're all gonna eventually become no religion. It is beautiful. I mean, I want to check out the indigenous history. The Aboriginal occupation of Queensland is thought to predate 50,000 BC, likely via boat or land bridge across Torres Strait, and became divided into over 90 different language groups. During the last ice age, Queensland's landscape became arider and largely desolate, making food and other supplies scarce. This led to the world's first seed grinding technology without any source. And then warming again made the land hospitable as it brought high rainfall along the eastern coast, stimulating the growth of the state's tropical rainforest. I'm just kind of fascinated by this, meaning like someone kind of came over and just wrote this line which says this led to the world's first seed grinding technology, and probably the other person kind of like came back here and edited and said like, what's the source, how can you claim this? And I don't know if I can find the history of learn to edit. Oh, recent changes. Oh wait. Oh, this is something else. Just the recent changes of the entire Wikipedia, but I want to see the changes on this wiki page. Page information. Page views in the past 30 days, 53,798 views. Wow. And anyone can edit and move. Page creator is whoever this is. Latest editor is Celluloving. And last edited like 8 days back. A total of 3,583 edits. And 3 edits in the past 30 days. And by different authors. Oh, I guess we would have to join. It would be interesting, but I don't want to edit it because I have no idea what how to um, how to cite and all of that. I would rather just rely on good people of the internet to not drive me into a wrong direction and just give me the right information. That's an interesting name of the city. Toowoomba is a city in the Toowoomba region of the Darling Downs, Queensland, Australia. It is 125 kilometer west of Queensland's capital city Brisbane by road. The estimated urban population of Toowoomba as of June 2019 was 169,010 people. What about Cairns? Cairns is a city in Queensland, Australia, on the tropical northeast coast of far north Queensland. Whereas Townsville is a city on the northeastern coast of Queensland, Australia, with a population of 180,820 people as of June 2018. It is the largest settlement in North Queensland and is unofficially considered its capital. Townsville hosts a significant number of governmental, community, and major businesses. That's like a financial capital of Queensland. Sunshine Coast. It sounds kind of like an entertainment capital of Queensland. Let's see. Sunshine Coast is a peri-urban region in southeast Queensland, Australia. It is a district defined in 1967 as the area contained in the shires of Landsborough, Maroochy, and Noosa, but excluding Bribie Island, located 100 kilometer north of the center of Brisbane in southeast Queensland on the coral. And what was the last other one? Gold Coast. The Gold Coast is a coastal city in the state of Queensland, Australia, approximately 66 kilometers southeast of the center of the state capital, Brisbane, and immediately north of the border with New South Wales. The area was previously occupied prior to European settlement by indigenous people. Let's check out Coral Sea. And we're going to wrap this journey. The Coral Sea, which in French is Mar de Corail, is a marginal sea of the South Pacific off the northeast coast of Australia and classified as an interim Australian bioregion. The Coral Sea extends 2,000 kilometers down the Australian northeast coast. The sea was the location for the Battle of the Coral Sea, a major confrontation during World War II between the navies of the Empire of Japan and the United States and Australia. The sea contains numerous islands and reefs, as well as the world's largest reef system, the Great Barrier Reef, which was declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1981. All previous oil exploration projects were terminated at the GBR in 1975, and fishing is restricted in many areas. The reefs and islands of the Coral Sea are particularly rich in birds and aquatic life and are a popular tourist destination, both domestically and internationally, of course. A World Heritage Site is a landmark or area with legal protection by an international convention administered by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, which is UNESCO. World Heritage Sites are designated by UNESCO for having cultural significance. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, is a specialized agency of the United Nations aimed at promoting world peace and security through international cooperation in education, arts, sciences, and culture. That sounds kind of interesting. It has 193 member states and 11 associate members, as well as partners in the non governmental, intergovernmental, and private sectors. Headquartered at the World Heritage Center in Paris, France, UNESCO has 53 regional field offices and 199 national commissions that facilitate its global mandate. UNESCO was founded in 1945 as the successor to the League of Nations International Committee on Intellectual Cooperation. Wow. Wonder why League of Nations never, you know, caught on. They became obsolete like within what 10 years, I guess. Its constitution establishes the agency's goals, governing structure, and operating framework. UNESCO's founding mission, which was shaped by the Second World War, is to advance peace, sustainable development, and human rights by facilitating collaboration and dialogue among nations. It pursues this objective through five major program areas: education, natural sciences, social or human sciences, culture, and communication and information. UNESCO sponsors projects that improve literacy, provide technical training and education, advance science, protect independent media and press freedom, preserve regional and cultural history, and promote cultural diversity. As a focal point for world culture and science, UNESCO's activities have broadened over the years. It assists in the translation and dissemination of world literature, helps establish and secure World Heritage sites of cultural and natural importance, works to bridge the worldwide digital divide, and creates inclusive knowledge societies through information and communication. UNESCO has launched several initiatives and global movements, such as Education for All, to further advance its core objectives. UNESCO is governed by the General Conference, composed of member states and associate members, which meets biannually to set the agency's programs and budget. It also elects members of the executive boards, which manages UNESCO's work, and appoints every 4 years a director general, who serves as UNESCO's chief administrator. UNESCO is a member of the United Nations Sustainable Development Group, a coalition of UN agencies and organizations aimed at fulfilling the Sustainable Development Goals. Yeah, let's see some activities. It's quite a list, if you ask me. I mean, that's kind of a lot of events. The UNESCO Transparency Portal has been designed to enable public access to information regarding the organization's activities, such as its aggregate budget for a biennium, as well as links to relevant programmatic and financial documents. These two distinct sets of informations are published on the IATI registry, respectively based on the IATI activity standard and the IATI organization standard. What exactly is IATI? The International Aid Transparency Initiative is a global campaign to create transparency in the records of how aid money is spent. The initiative hopes to thereby ensure that aid money reaches its intended recipients. The ultimate goal is to improve standards of living worldwide. The first proposed list will focus on the movable cultural heritage such as artifacts, paintings, and biofacts. The list may include cultural objects such as German Venus of Japan, the Mona Lisa of France, the Gebel el Ark knife of Egypt, the Ninth Wave of Russia, the seated woman of Catalhoyuk of Turkey, the David Michelangelo of Italy, the Mathura Heracles of India, Heracles, the Manunguljar of Philippines, the Crown of Baekje of South Korea, the Heiwan of the United Kingdom, and the Benin bronzes of Nigeria. The second proposed list will focus on the world's living species, such as the Komodo dragon of Indonesia, the panda of China, the bald eagle of the North American countries, the AA of Madagascar, the Asiatic lion of India, the kakapo of New Zealand, and the mountain tapir of Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. I'm curious about all of those. The German Venus is a doku, a humanoid clay female figurine from the Middle German period, which was 3000 to 2000 BC. Again, I want to convert that to the human era calendar. Why can't we just use human era calendar? So that would make it uh, around 11,800 years old, right? Now, so 4,000 years from now, like, say if I go 4,000 years back, 12,000 years minus 4,000 would be 8,000. So, yeah, 8,000 years. 8,000 HE. Okay, cool. The German Venus is a dogu, a humanoid clay female figurine from the Middle German period, between 3000 to 2000 BC, discovered in 1986 in Chino, Nagano Prefecture, Japan. It was designated a national treasure in 1995, the first Jomon period artifact to be so designated. The Mona Lisa is a half length portrait painting by Italian artist Leonardo da Vinci, considered an archetypical masterpiece of the Italian Renaissance. It has been described as the best known, the most visited, the most written about, the most sung about, the most parodied work of art in the history, I guess, or in the world. The Gebel el Ark knife, also Jebel el Ark knife, is an ivory and flint knife dating from the Naqadas II period of Egyptian prehistory, showing Mesopotamian influence. The knife was purchased in 1914 in Cairo by Georges Aaron Benedict for the Louvre. The Ninth Wave is an 1850 painting by Russian Armenian marine painter Ivan Evazovsky. It is his best known work, and indeed it's beautiful. It is really beautiful. The Seated Woman of Catalhoyuk is a baked clay, nude female form seated between feline headed armrests. It is generally thought to depict a corpulent and fertile mother goddess in the process of giving birth while seated on her throne, which has two hands rested in the feline headed armrest. David is a masterpiece of Renaissance sculpture, created in marble between 1501 and 1504 by the Italian artist Michelangelo. David is a 5.17-meter marble statue of the biblical figure David, a favored subject in the art of Florence. The Mathura Heracles is a famous statue found in the city of Mathura, India, thought to represent the Greek hero Heracles fighting the Nemean lion. The Manungul jar is a secondary burial jar excavated from a Neolithic burial site in the Manungul cave of the Tebon caves at Lipun Point in Palawan, Philippines. It dates from 890 to 710 BC, and the two prominent figures at the top handle of its cover represent looks like a boat. And two people on the boat. The crown of Baekje refers to several artifacts excavated that are believed to be the royal headgear of the kings, queens, and nobility of the Baekje kingdom. Some of the crowns follow the same tradition as Silla crowns in that they share the tree motif and the hints of something. Wow, this painting is beautiful. The Hayway, originally titled Landscape Noon, is a painting by John Constable, finished in 1821, which depicts a rural scene on the River Stour between the English counties of Suffolk and Essex. It hangs in the National Gallery in London and is regarded as Constable's most famous image. The Benin bronzes are a group of several thousand metal plaques and sculptures that decorated the royal palace of the Kingdom of Benin in what is now Nigeria. Collectively, the objects form the best examples of Benin art and were created from the 13th century onwards. So those were the list of artistic treasures, I guess, and then the list of world's living species. The Komodo dragon, also known as the Komodo monitor, is a member of the monitor lizard family Varanidae that is endemic to the Indonesian islands of Komodo, Rinca, Flores, and Gili. It is the largest extant species of lizard, growing to a maximum length of 3 meters. The giant panda, also known as the panda bear, is a bear species endemic to China. It is characterized by its bold black and white coat and rotund body. The name giant panda is sometimes used to distinguish it from the red panda, a neighboring musceloid, though it belongs to the order Carnivore. The bald eagle is a bird of prey found in North America. A sea eagle, it has two known subspecies and forms a species pair with the white tailed eagle, which occupies the same niche as the bald eagle in the Palar- Palearctic. Its ranges includes most of Canada and Alaska. The AA is a long-fingered lemur, a stripsirrhine primate native to Madagascar, with rodent-like teeth. The AA is a long-fingered lemur, a stripsirrhine primate native to Madagascar, with rodent-like teeth that perpetually grow and a special thin middle finger. The Asiatic lion is a Panthera leo population surviving today only in India. Since the turn of the 20th century, its range is restricted to Gir National Park and the surrounding areas in the Indian state of Gujarat. Historically, it inhabited much of the Middle East to northern India. The kakapo is also known as owl parrot is a species of large, flightless, nocturnal, ground-dwelling parrot of the superfamily Strigopoidea, Strigopoidea, endemic to New Zealand. The mountain tapir, also known as the Andean tapir or woolly tapir, is the smallest of the four widely recognized species of tapir. It is the only one to live outside of tropical rainforests in the wild. It is most easily distinguished from other tapirs by its thick woolly coat and white lips. Cool. All right. This was kind of fun. Um, and I don't know why I'm not doing this every day. I should, right? Right? And I'll try to. I will. But for now, this is goodbye.